Good day everyone, I'm Keanu Aaron B. Esteban and today we will talk about the ecological literacy. But before we start, let me introduce to you my groupmates. Miss Bisnar Mary Chris, Mr. Dalion Dan Axel, Miss Rapsing Nicole, Miss Raya Richel, Mr. Sabayan John RB, and Miss Sulayo Lani Grace. So meron akong tanong sa inyo. What comes to our mind when we hear the word environment? Ayan, syempre kapag naririnig or nababanggit yung tinatawag na environment, ang una pumapasok sa isip natin, yung mga halaman, yung mga puno na meron tayo, yung mga hayop na meron tayo, yun yung mga bagay na pumapasok sa isip natin. No? So, sa madaling salita, yung mga non-living things or living things na meron tayo na nag-e-exist sa paligid natin. But, sa mga reporters, no, tatalakayin nila yung mas malalim na ibig sabihin ng environment na meron tayo. How much do you love the environment you have? No, gaano ba natin kamahal no, yung environment na meron tayo, yung paligid na meron tayo? Mahal ba natin yung paligid na meron tayo dahil sinabi ng mga matatanda na kailangang alagaan, kailangan na i-respect no, yung mga pinagkukunan natin ng yaman? Or mahal natin yun dahil nauunawaan natin na parte tayo ng environment na meron tayo? And lastly, how can you prove that you love the environment you have? No, katulad sa pagmamahal natin sa tao, 'di ba? Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na mahal natin yung isang tao kapag through our words lang. So dapat nakikita rin yan through our actions. Dapat naipapakita natin no, kung gaano natin kamahal yung isang tao. So ganun din sa environment na meron tayo. Dapat meron tayong ginagawa no, to prove na totoo yung pag-ibig natin sa environment na meron tayo. And sabi nga ni Mr. David W. Orr ng Ecological Literacy, Educating Our Children for a Sustainable World or the Pioneer Series, the plain fact is that the planet does need more successful people. But it does desperately need more peacemaker, healers, restorers, storytellers, and lovers of every kind. It needs people who live well in their places. It needs people of moral courage willing to join the fight to make the world habitable and humane. And these qualities have to do with success as we have defined it. So, sa madaling salita, hindi kailangan, no, hindi ang kailangan ng environment ng mga tao na successful, but rather, sabi nga, desperately need, no, yung mga taong peacemaker, healers, restorers, storytellers, and lovers of every kind. So, ibig sabihin lang, no, kailangan ng environment na meron tayo, yung totoong concern, no, para sa kanya. Yung totoong may malasakit, yung totoong may pag-ibig, no, yung totoong may respect no sa kanya, hindi yung sa mga sa mga tao na dahil mayaman lang no. So kailangan talaga kapag sinasabi nating mahal natin yung paligid natin o yung kapaligiran na meron tayo, no, involves no yung pakialam natin, no, involve yung mismong sarili natin, yung interest natin, no, kung paano natin siya papangalagaan, no. Dapat ganun kapag sinasabi nating mahal natin yung environment na meron tayo. Hindi dahil mayaman lang tayo, no? Hindi dahil malaki yung pwede nating ibigay sa kanya na pera, but rather no, malaki yung pag-ibig, no, yung respeto no, na pwede nating ibigay na sa paligid na meron tayo. So now, let's proceed to understanding and cultivating eco-literacy.
Good day, everyone. I'm Nicole S. Rapsing, and I will be reporting on understanding and cultivating eco-literacy together with my groupmates. Have you ever wondered how humans, nature, and society are all connected? This report explored the concept of ecological literacy or ecoliteracy, which is the understanding of these vital interconnections. By developing ecoliteracy, we can make more sustainable choices and help preserve the balance of our ecosystem for future generations. Ecological literacy or ecoliteracy is an important concept that helps us understand the relationship between nature, human, and society. In this report, we will explain what ecoliteracy means, why it's essential, and how we can cultivate it to create a more sustainable future. What is ecological literacy? According to Jones 2018, Ecological literacy refers to the understanding of how nature functions and how all living beings, both plants and animals, are interconnected. Sabi ni Jones, ang lahat ng species at komunidad ay may connection sa isa't isa. This means that cooperation is necessary for the survival of life, despite the diversity we see in nature. Every living and non-living thing play a role in maintaining the balance of our ecosystem. For example, kung may isang bagay na itinuturing na iba bilang basura, maaari naman ito maging isang biyaya para sa iba. This shows that what we might see as waste can have value in different contexts, which helps in sustaining the balance of nature. Ecological literacy teaches us that every action, no matter how small, can affect the environment. Understanding this interconnectedness can help us make better decisions in our daily lives, not just for our benefit but also for the health of the planet. By being eco-literate, we can contribute to making our society more aware and responsible in taking care of the environment. In short, cultivating ecological literacy is vital for ensuring that future generations can live in harmony with nature. It encourages us to see the bigger picture and recognize how everything, from the smallest insect to the largest animal, is part of a larger system. By understanding and practicing eco-literacy, we can help create a more sustainable and balanced world. So now, may I call Miss Richelle Raya to continue the next part.
Good day everyone, I'm Richelle Raya and today I'm going to talk about why is it so crucial to teach ecological literacy to children. So, why is it so crucial to teach ecological literacy to children? Well, imagine a world where everyone understands how important it is to protect our planet. That's what ecological literacy helps us achieve. Pag tinuturuan natin ang mga bata tungkol sa kalikasan, hindi lang tayo nagbibigay ng impormasyon, binibigyan natin sila ng lakas para gumawa ng pagbabago. Matututo sila kung paano nakakaapekto ang kanilang mga ginagawa sa kapaligiran at matututo silang pumili ng mga bagay na mabuti para sa tao at sa ating planeta. Matututo silang sa pagre-recycle, pagtitipid ng tubig, at pagprotekta sa mga hayop. Matututo rin silang solusyonan ng mga problema, mag-iisip silang mabuti tungkol sa mga problema sa kapaligiran at makakagawa ng mga bagong ideya para solusyonan ito. Halimbawa, matututo sila kung paano nakakasama sa ating paghinga ang polusyon at mag-isip sila ng paraan para mabawasan ang mga ito. So, next naman is, every citizen on the planet should have a good understanding of environmental issues. So, think about all the amazing things in nature. The trees, the animals, the rivers, even the tiny bugs. Ecological literacy is all about learning how these things work together, how they depend on each other, and how we, as humans, fit into this big picture. Kailangan ng bawat tao sa mundo na maunawaan ang mga issues sa kapaligiran. Isipin natin, ang mundo ang ating tahanan at tulad ng ibang bahay, kailangan din ito ng pag-aalaga. Kung hindi natin nauunawaan kung paano nakakaapekto ang ating mga ginagawa sa kapaligiran, maaari natin itong masira. Ang pagtuturo ng ecological literacy sa mga bata ay hindi lamang puro pag-memorize ng mga data tungkol sa kalikasan. Ito ay pagtulong sa kanila na maunawaan ang mga koneksyon ng mga nabubuhay na bagay at ang kanilang kapaligiran. Ito ay pagtulong sa kanila na maunawaan kung paano nakakaapekto ang polusyon sa hangin, ating lalanghap, sa tubig na ating iniinom, at sa pagkain na ating kinakain. So, ito ay pag-unawa kung paano nakakaapekto ang pagbabago ng klima sa panahon at sa mga ecosystem. Sa pagtuturo sa mga bata tungkol sa mga isyu nito, binibigyan natin sila ng kakayahan na maging responsableng mamamayan ng mundo. So, teaching ecological literacy isn't just about the environment. It's about empowering the next generation to be responsible citizens of the planet. It's about giving them the tools they need to build a healthier and more sustainable future for everyone. So next naman po, according to Fritjof Capra, American physicist, eco-literacy is the ability to comprehend nature and the mechanism that support life. So ayon sa kanya, ang eco-literacy ay hindi lang pag-alam sa pangalan ng mga hayop at mga halaman. Ito ay malalim na pag-unawa kung paano nagtutulungan ang lahat ng ito. Ito ay ang pagtingin sa malaking larawan at ang pag-unawa sa ating lugar dito. Ito ay ang pagkilala na tayo ay bahagi ng kalikasan. Sunod naman po is, through the collaborative efforts of Education for Sustainable Development, ESD, Local person from several countries, UNESCO, and CIMEO initiated the preparation of a teacher's guide for integrating ESD and pre-service teacher education for Southeast Asia. So this shows that UNESCO and CIMEO, along with key people from different countries involved in education for sustainable development ESD, work together to create a special guide. This guide is designed to help teachers in Southeast Asia include ESD in their teaching. Education for Sustainable Development ESD is all about teaching students how to live sustainably. It's about understanding environmental issues, social justice, and economic development, and how these things are all connected. It's about teaching students how to make choices that are good for the planet and for the people. And that's all po. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Maricris Bisnar, and today we will discuss about cultivating eco-literacy. There are several ways that people may do to help the development of eco-literacy, including develop empathy for all forms of life. Sa pinaka-basic na level, lahat ng organismo kasama ng tao ay nangangailangan ng pagkain, tubig, espasyo at mga kondisyon na sumusuporta sa dynamic equilibrium para makaligtas. Mula sa perspective na ito, mapapalawak natin ang ating mga circles of empathy at isaalang-alang ang kalidad ng buhay ng iba pang mga organismo, makaramdam ng tunay na malasakit para sa kanilang kalagayan at kumilos batay sa malasakit na iyon. And second is embrace sustainability as a community practice sa pamamagitan ng pag-aaral tungkol sa kamanghamanghang mga paraan kung paano magkaugnay ang mga halaman, hayop at iba pang mga nilalang na i-inspire ang mga estudyante na pag-isipan ng papel ng interdependence sa loob ng kanilang mga komunidad at makita ang halaga ng pagpapalakas ng mga relasyon na ito sa pamamagitan ng pag-iisip at pagkikilos ng magkakasama.
Good day everyone. I'm Dan Axel Dalio at itutuloy ko yung report ni Mary Chris patungkol din sa cultivating eco-literacy. Making the invisible visible. Dati, madali na makita ng mga tao yung consequences ng kanilang mga actions. Halimbawa, no, kapag merong nagputol ng puno sa kanilang lupa, may kita agad nila yung epekto nito tulad ng soil erosion o yung pagkawala ng biodiversity. Pero ngayon, sa ating panahon, no, maraming epekto ng actions natin yung hindi agad natin nakikita. Isang halimbawa nito ay yung climate change. May mga lugar na nakakaranas ng mga epekto nito, pero marami sa atin yung hindi pa gaano yung epekto o hindi pa ganun nararamdaman. Para matulungan yung mga estudyante na makita yung mga invisible consequences na yon, pwedeng gamitin ng mga educators yung mga tools tulad ng Google Earth para ma-explore nila yung mga lugar na apektado ng environmental issues. May mga apps din tulad ng Good Guide at Food Educate na nagbibigay ng impormasyon tungkol sa impact ng mga products sa ating kalusugan, environment at social justice. Pwede rin kumonekta yung mga estudyante sa mga tao mula sa ibang lugar gamit yung social networks para marinig ang first-hand experience ng mga tao na mas nakakaranas nito. At kung kaya naman yung mga field trips sa mga lugar na apektado ng environmental degradation tulad ng mga energy producing site ay makakatulong sa mga estudyante na makita yung epekto ng global systems and persons. Number 4, anticipating unattended consequences. Maraming environmental problems ko yun ay yung resulta ng mga unattended consequences ng action ng nating mga tao tulad ng pollution at climate change na dulot ng paggamit ng fossil fuels. Dati, tinuturing ito na progreso, pero ngayon lang natin napansin na yung may mga negatibo pala itong epekto. Para matulungan yung mga estudyante, merong dalawang strategies, no? Una, yung precautionary principle na nagsasabing kapag may activity na pwedeng makasira sa environment o kalusugan ng tao, dapat mag-ingat na kahit hindi pa scientifically proven yung harm ng product na yun o nung activity na yun, dapat yung mga producer, no, kailangan muna nilang mapatunayan na safe yung kanilang produkto bago ito nila ilabas sa merkado o sa mga consumer. Pangalawa, yung pangalawang strategies, yung system thinking, kung saan hindi lang natin tinitingnan yung mga problema ng hiwalay o hindi natin sinusolve o hindi natin, para tinitingnan natin siya ng buo o konektado sa isa't isa, no? Sa ganitong paraan, mas madali nating mapipredict yung mga consequences ng mga maliliit na pagbabago sa isang bahagi ng system. Makakatulong ito para makita yung mga epekto ng mga decisions natin dun sa ating environment. Pero kahit maganda yung mga strategies na yun, hindi pa rin may iwasan yung mga unexpected consequences. Kaya importante na mag-build ng resilience, no? Halimbawa, pwede tayo mag-move away sa monocrop farming at gumawa ng mga local, decentralized systems na kaya mag-adapt at mag-recover mula sa disruption. Number 5, last, no? Understanding how nature sustain life. Isa sa pinaka-importanting lessons na matutunan natin kung paano tayo pwedeng matuto sa kalikasan. Merong 3 important principles na pwede natin matutunan mula sa nature na kailangan ng bawat ecoliterate person. Una, yung interconnectedness, no? Lahat ng buhay bahagi ng isang complex web at bawat organismo ay depende sa isa't isa para sila ay mag-survive. Pwede mag-study yung mga estudyante ng local ecosystem para maintindihan yung mga interconnections ng mga organism para mas mapalalim pa yung kaalaman nila tungkol sa kung paano tumatakbo yung ating mundo, no? System on different scales. Yung nature ay meron siyang system sa iba't ibang levels mula sa pinakamaliit na organismo hanggang doon sa pinakamalaking ecosystem. Kung maintindihan ng mga estudyante yun, no, kung paano nag-i-interact yung mga systems, makikita nila na kahit yung maliit na disturbance lang yung gawin nila, no, o kaya kahit maliit na disturbance, pwede siya magdulot ng malaki o malawakang epekto. At yung last, sustainability. Yung mga ecoliterate na person ay nagsasabi dapat kunin lang natin yung kailangan natin mula sa resources, no? Hindi tayo kukuha ng sobra dun sa ating pangangailangan at ginagamit. At mag-adjust tayo sa pag-take ng resources during times of abundance of scarcity. Importanteng may long-term view tayo sa paggawa ng decision para mapatatili natin yung balance at sustainability. At last, yung pagiging ecoliterate ay tungkol sa pag-unawa ng malalim na koneksyon ng mga actions ng tao at ng kalikasan. Kung matututo tayo kung paano makita ang mga invisible na epekto ng actions natin, paano maiwasan yung mga unattended consequences, at paano matutunan yung nature kung paano mag-survive at mag-thrive, makagawa tayo ng decision na may kinabang hindi lang yung tao, kundi pati na yung buo nating planeta. That's all.
Now, let's talk about place-based learning. Place-based learning is a kind of grassroots movements where teachers make the community an extension of the classroom where authentic learning experiences happen. In other words, it is an educational approach that uses local community and environment as foundation for teaching. Instead na gumamit ng textbook or visuals, dito sa place-based learning, nakafocus ito sa real-world experiences wherein through this approach, educators can foster a deeper understanding to the students about their surroundings. Principles of place-based education. A place-based approach uses the community as a classroom. As I have said a while ago, pag place-based learning, nakafocus ito sa real-world learning. And also sa experiential learning na kung saan ine-engage yung mga students sa mga hands-on activity and field trips. Local learning serves as a foundation for understanding global issues. Since mayroong ding community engagement dito, wherein inaaral din yung mga local issues, mga challenges na kinakaharap ng isang community, student can also identify patterns and trends na nangyayari globally. Place-based education is learner-centered. So, nakafocus ito sa mga student. Kino-consider natin dito yung interest and yung individual needs ng mga students. Lessons are inquiry-based. This is a student-driven inquiry. And as they explore some real-world issues, they will develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Students use design thinking to make an impact on the community. So again, dito may kasamang community engagement. So hindi lang nila inaalam yung mga issues, yung mga challenges sa community, but also nag-create din sila ng solution para makatulong sa community. place-based learning is holistic and interdisciplinary. So, holistic meaning to say, hindi lang ito limitado sa isang area or subject. We can integrate multiple subjects such as science, history, and art to provide a comprehensive understanding about the local environment. So, these are the examples of place-based education. Field trips, community service, internships with local businesses, and other non-local classroom activities. Now, let's know its benefits. So, first, there is a higher student engagement in place-based learning, a deeper understanding of concepts, increased student agency, higher academic outcomes, stronger connections between students and their communities, increased environmental consciousness, reduce anxiety and fear in students that previously inhibited their ability to engage, heightened sense of civic responsibility and philanthropy, increased curiosity, and lastly, deeper levels of design thinking and problem solving. Okay, after knowing the benefits of place-based learning, the question now is place-based education right for everyone? The answer is, all students can benefit from an education that is meaningful and culturally relevant to them. However, place-based education can be particularly advantageous for students that find traditional classrooms either too challenging or not challenging enough. I hope you learned something from me. That's all. Thank you.
And next naman po, bali yung topic ko po is fostering eco-literacy. So, fostering eco-literacy or ecological literacy is the understanding of natural system that makes life on Earth possible. And it's involved recognizing the integrated relationship between living organisms and their environment and understanding how human action impact this system. So, for example po nito, kapag nagpatupad po tayo ng tamang pamamahala ng basura, tulad po ng paghihiwalay ng nabubulok at hindi nabubulok na basura, bali, mauunawaan natin kung paano ito nakakaapekto sa ating mundo or sa ating kalikasan. And sa pamagitan ng kaalaman ng eco-literacy, nalalaman natin na ang pag-recycle at pagko-compose ay tumutulong upang mabawasan po yung mga basurang napupunta sa mga landfill. And malaking tulong din po siya dahil napapanatili po nating malinis yung kapaligiran natin at napoprotektahan din po natin yung kalikasan natin. And why is eco-literacy important? So, una po dito is sustainability. So, sabi dyan, eco-literacy equip individual with the knowledge and skill needed to live sustainability. And it's encourage practice that reduce environmental impact and promote the health of ecosystem. So, eco-literacy provide people with the understanding and abilities to live in a way that support long-term ecological health, and it's promote action that lessen our negative impact on the environment and support the well-being of natural ecosystem. And next naman po, empathy for nurturing. So by fostering a deep emotional connection with nature, eco-literacy help individuals develop empathy for all of life. So eco-literacy create a strong emotional link with nature, allowing people to develop empathy for all life forms. So this emotional connection is essential for inspiring action that protect and sustain the environment. And next naman po yung critical thinking. So eco-literacy promotes critical thinking about environmental issue, enabling individual to analyze problem and develop innovative solution. So, eco-literacy empowers individuals to think critically about environmental challenges, enabling them to assess issue truthfully and come up with creative and effective solution. And lastly po yung community and responsibility. So sabi dito, promoting eco-literacy within a community and fostering a sense of responsibility involves community project. For example po nito yung cleanup drives, dapat po magkaroon ng regular cleanup clean up event sa lugar na maraming basura, at dapat po hikayatin natin yung mga residente na mapanatiling malinis at malusog yung kanilang kapaligiran o kaya yung kanilang mga lugar. And next naman po, key components of eco-literacy. So yung una po, experiential learning. So sabi dito, engaging in hands-on activity tulad po ng gardening, nature walk, and wildfire observation. Dahil malaking tulong po ito sa individual na maging connected po sila sa kalikasan. And next naman po, system thinking. Understanding how different elements within an ecosystem are interconnected helps individuals see the bigger picture of how their action affect the environment. And next naman po yung community involvement. So sabi dito, participating in local environmental project, tulad nga pong sabi ko, kailangan pong makipag-participate ng mga resident, and maging ako rin po, dapat may pag-participate ako, and maging ma-involve ako sa mga community project tulad ng cleanup drive, tree planting, at marami pa pong iba. And ito naman po yung community involvement. So bali, magpapakita na lang po ako ng picture ng mga community involvement tulad po ng sa cleanup drives, and yung impact and yung kanilang picture. And here's our reference, and I hope marami po kayong natutunan sa itinuro namin, and yun lang po, marami pong salamat.